She stood in line at the tiny Christmas market, fingers trembling in the cold, clutching her last crumpled dollar. The smell of warm pancakes filled the air, reminding her of the traditions she used to share with her family before life became a constant fight to survive. Today, she wasn't buying them for herself, she was buying them for her little boy waiting at home, hoping Christmas would still feel like Christmas. When the vendor looked at the single dollar in her hand, her chest tightened, hoping it would be enough for just one small pancake. Behind her stood a tall, quiet man, a single dad holding his daughter's mittened hand. He had watched her struggle, watched her hesitate, watched the mix of hope and worry in her eyes. Something about her reminded him of all the Christmases he had tried to make special, even when he barely had anything himself. As she whispered her order, voice almost fading into the holiday noise, he stepped forward before the vendor could speak. "I'll take them all," the man said. She froze, confused, unsure if he was mocking her or saving her. Around them, the lights flickered, the Christmas music softened, and the moment hung in the cold air waiting for what would happen next. The single dad's words hung in the chilly air, and for a moment, time seemed to slow. She clasped her last dollar tighter, trying not to stare at him as he lifted his eyes to meet hers. He looked tired, dark circles under his eyes, a worn coat bundled tightly around him, and a little girl in a bright red scarf tugging gently at his sleeve. He wasn't asking for attention or applause. Something in his voice felt calm, decided, as if he had fought harder than anyone else just to stand there in that moment. She took a step back, surprise flickering across her face. Question after question raced through her mind. Why would a stranger cover her pancake? What did he want in return? Just a sandwich? A smile? Or something more? Her little boy was waiting at home. What would she tell him now? Meanwhile, the man's daughter stared at the pancakes, her eyes wide, innocent, full of hope. There was no judgment in her face, only childlike wonder and trust. The vendor paused mid-motion, flipping another pancake in the iron griddle. Shoppers around them slowed too, sensing something unusual but unsure. Would the vendor accept the offer? Would the single dad follow through? And more importantly, how would she respond? The cold wind whispered through the market stalls, as the moment held its breath, waiting for the next move. She held the warm bundle close to her chest, feeling the heat seep into her shaking fingers. The man didn't step away immediately. Instead, he watched her with a quiet uncertainty, as if he wasn't sure whether he had crossed a line or done something right. His daughter peeked from behind his coat, studying the woman the way kids do, openly, without fear. The little girl's stare made her shift uncomfortably, because it felt like the child could see right through her struggle. Before she could thank him, a voice called from across the market. A vendor shouted at the man, reminding him of a custom order he had forgotten to pick up. His expression changed, tightening for just a heartbeat before he forced a smile. She noticed because she'd worn that same forced smile too many times. Something was weighing on him, something more than holiday stress or long lines, but he didn't say anything. She turned to leave, but the memory of the kindness pulled at her. Should she say something more? Should she ask why he helped? Her heart battled between caution and curiosity. Meanwhile, the man's phone buzzed again and again in his pocket, each vibration sharper than the last. He ignored it, but his eyes grew distant, troubled. The snow thickened. The market lights grew dimmer, and their paths seemed ready to split, yet neither of them truly walked away. Something unspoken lingered, hinting that this moment wasn't over, not by a long shot. She finally turned to walk away, clutching the pancakes as if they were the only warm thing left in her world. But before she took more than a few steps, she heard the man's hurried footsteps crunching through the snow behind her. His daughter followed close, her tiny boots slipping a little on the icy ground. Something in his voice, when he called out, made her stop, not urgency, but fear, the kind a parent tries to hide. He apologized for bothering her again, but his eyes kept darting toward the buzzing phone in his hand. The screen lit up with another call, then another message. He didn't show her the details, but she caught a glimpse of a name flashing repeatedly, someone he clearly didn't want to face. His daughter tugged his hand anxiously, sensing something was wrong. The woman felt a chill deeper than the winter air, a quiet alarm that something bigger was unfolding. Then, unexpectedly, the little girl stepped toward her and gently touched her coat. "Can you stay for a minute?" the child asked softly, glancing up at her father as if she was afraid he might disappear. The man opened his mouth to respond, but his phone vibrated violently with one more call, this time making him flinch. His jaw tightened. The woman could see it now. Whatever he was running from had finally caught up. And in that moment, surrounded by falling snow and flickering Christmas lights, all their paths collided right on the edge of something none of them were prepared for. Before he could silence the call, a sharp voice echoed through the market, cutting through the music and chatter. Someone was calling his name loud, impatient, and far too close. The man froze. His daughter's hand tightened around his fingers, and the woman felt her breath catch as a tall figure pushed through the crowd, scanning every face. The man stepped instinctively in front of his little girl, his shoulders tense. He whispered her name, telling her it was okay, but even she could hear the tremble he tried to hide. The woman didn't know what was happening, only that this wasn't a simple case of avoiding an annoying call. This felt heavier, like a past he had been trying to outrun had finally caught up with him. The figure spotted him and stopped, eyes narrowing. The man took a small step back. Snowflakes fell between them like tiny sparks, but the air felt tight, almost electric. The woman held the warm pancakes close, unsure whether to leave or stay, but her feet wouldn't move. The little girl looked up at her, pleading silently for something comfort, help, or maybe just not to disappear. Then the stranger called out again, this time with a tone that hinted at urgency and accusation. The man swallowed hard, and in that moment the woman realized this wasn't just someone he didn't want to see. This was someone who could change everything for him, and possibly for her too. The stranger stopped a few feet away, breathing hard as if he'd been searching for a long time. The man finally straightened, pulling his daughter close. The woman braced herself, unsure what truth was about to unfold. The stranger spoke first, his voice gentler than expected. He wasn't there to threaten him, he was there because the man had been avoiding something important. A message? A responsibility he thought he couldn't face. The stranger explained that a long-delayed decision had finally gone through. The custody dispute the man had feared for months was over, and he had won full custody of his daughter. No more hearings, no more sleepless nights, no more fear of losing her. The man's shoulders sagged with relief so sudden it nearly brought him to his knees. His daughter's eyes brightened as she hugged him tightly, and for a moment the tension melted into soft, trembling joy. The woman felt something warm rise in her chest, a quiet happiness for them both, to people who had found their Christmas miracle. But just as the calm settled, the stranger handed the man an envelope. Inside was a notice, and urgent one. He didn't just gain custody, he had also inherited a responsibility connected to the woman standing beside him, something neither of them had seen coming. And as their eyes met, for the first time, it felt like their stories had been tied together long before this snowy night. The man opened the envelope slowly, hands unsteady, and the woman leaned in without realizing it. Inside was a letter from the community center where he had once volunteered. It explained that someone had anonymously paid for holiday support packages for struggling families, food, gifts, warm clothes. The letter revealed the name of the family he'd been matched with this year. It was hers. Somehow, through chance or fate, he had been assigned to help her long before they ever met at the pancake stand. The woman felt her throat tighten. She had tried so hard to stay unnoticed, to survive quietly, never expecting anyone to reach out. Now here she was, holding warm pancakes bought by the very person meant to help her. It felt strange, but comforting too, like the world had aligned for a moment to give them all a second chance. He offered to walk her home, not out of pity but out of genuine care. She accepted, realizing she didn't have to carry everything alone anymore. Their footsteps moved through the snow side by side, the little girl swinging their hands as if she already believed they belonged together. Christmas lights glowed softly above them, and for the first time in a long time, the world felt warm again.